Okay, so we're moving on to interactivity. So this is the print document. So this is optimized for print, which means it's CMYK and all of those things. Now that's not suitable for an interactive digital document. As we already know, digital files that are going to be viewed on a screen should be RGB. And there are a number of other things that we need to check out. So for example, looking at a document like this digitally, let's say on a phone or a tablet, you're going to have a cover page which is portrait, and then you're going to have double page spreads, which if you look at them together are landscape. So that's a poor experience digitally, because you're going to have to turn your device from portrait to landscape. So we want everything to be landscape. And so we need to work out how to do that. Now there's lots of ways that you can do that. You can change this document and then reconfigure things. I find, for me, the best way is actually to make a new document. So I'm just going to go to File, New Document. And you can choose mobile devices, but I actually think web is better, because the mobile sort of presets are a little bit kind of fixed to a particular device screen. So I'm just going to go web, and then let's have a look at some of the options here. We're going to go 1024 by 768. It's quite small, but it's fairly standard size for digital documents. And then we'll say 5 pages, because if you count the number of double page spreads and the cover and the back cover, it actually makes up 5 pages. And I'll leave everything else as it is at the moment, because I don't really know how I'm going to configure it properly yet. So I'm going to create. Alright, and then I'm going to go back here. So the reason why I'm doing this as well is because this document has master pages, and the digital document I'm not going to bother with master pages. So I'm literally just copying and pasting. So from this document, on the cover page, make sure all your layers are unlocked. Press Command or Control A to select all, Command or Control C to copy, switch to your new document. You're on page 1, and what you want to remember, what you want to change in the Layers panel, in the options, is make sure you put on Paste Remembers Layers, because what that means is that it's not just going to paste everything into one layer, it's actually going to recreate the layers from this document into the new document, which is what you want. So I'm going to Command or Control V to paste, and you can see it recreates all of those layers. And now I can start to reconfigure this page to look better landscape. So I'm going to take this background image, and I'm just going to resize it so that it fits exactly into this page. Now I'm going to right click, fitting, fill frame proportionally. Okay, then let's just zoom in a little bit. For these items, for this, holding shift, this and this, I'm going to go to my free transform tool. The shortcut is E, and then I'm just going to hold down shift and just make it a bit bigger and move it into position. Just close this so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just nudging them so that they look nice and balanced. And once I've done that, I'm going to lock object, lock. I'm also going to lock this background image so that I can work on the other stuff. So now I've got these 2 items. I'm going to just move those there. And then here I've got this stuff. I'm just going to select, whoops, I need to, if I can do that, I need to go back to my selection tool, select everything here, take it into the corner there, then E for free transform tool, holding shift, let's size it up to the full width. Okay, so if I click away and press W, that's a pretty nice transformation from portrait to landscape. and it's going to be well suited for digital. So I'm going to continue going through all the other pages, just checking that everything looks fine, copying and pasting from the original document, and then adjusting it as needs be. And I'm just going to speed it up. Once I'm finished, I'll come back and we can move on to the next phase. Okay, so let me just close the original document. And so what we have here now is all landscape pages, and the spreads are now single pages in landscape mode instead of two portrait pages side by side. So that's better suited for digital. So a few other things we need to change is we need to go to Edit, Transparency, Blend Space, make sure it's RGB. So what that means is all our colors will now be RGB colors, which is correct. Now the one thing that I do want to change here, actually some of these colors are not RGB, so these ones at the bottom here that have a CMYK icon, I'm going to double click on them, change them to RGB. Okay, then also the images, remember that we converted the images to CMYK, so here they're all CMYK. We want them to be RGB because remember CMYK images lose their vibrancy and their contrast, and we want to go back to the original pictures. So I'm just going to go into a previous learning unit. So let's go all the way back to maybe learning unit 6. Theme 3, page layout, links. So here's all the links. Let's just check that they're RGB. Yes, RGB. So I'm just going to select all of those, copy, and I'm going to go to my learning unit 9, theme 2, inside here to links, and I'm going to paste all of those images in there. So what should happen here now is that these images should update. Okay, let me just select them all and go to relink to folder, and let's make sure we're going to the right folder here. Okay, let's just check RGB. Okay, so we've got everything that we need now to move on to building interactivity into this document. It's a good idea to save your document at this stage. So I'm just going to save mine to my desktop. I've done that already. So the first type of interactivity is really very basic, and that is hyperlinks. So a hyperlink is just something that you click on to go somewhere. It can be a web page, it can be an email address, it can be another page or a file. So in this document, the home page, we are not going to put any hyperlinks on. But if we go to the second page here, or actually what was page 3, I want these little contents numbers here to be hyperlinks to those actual pages. And we actually need to change these because they're no longer 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is page 2 now. So that's page 1, page 2. This is page 3, this is page 4, and this is page 5. So let's change that. So this will be 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now to make them hyperlinks to those pages, what I want to do is I could select the text, so I could select that text and make it a hyperlink, but I don't want to format it to look like a hyperlink. I want it to stay the same as what it is. So what I'm going to do is select it, go to type, create outlines, so that turns it into shapes, and then object, ungroup. So these are now individual objects, and then I'm going to select this and group it again, Command or Control G, this, Command or Control G, and this, Command or Control G. So there I have 3 objects that I can turn into hyperlinks to go to those pages. So Window, Interactive, Hyperlinks. I'm going to select the first item, click on the button that says Create New Hyperlink, and I'm going to change the link from URL to page, and we're going to make it page 3. We're going to set the zoom settings to fit in window, and OK. Next one, create new hyperlink, page, this will be page 4, zoom, fit in window. And finally this one, create new hyperlink, page 5, fit in window, and OK. Alright, so that's hyperlinks taken care of there. Then let's go to this page. So here we've got a few places where there's a web address. So I'm going to take my type tool and triple click to select that, make a new hyperlink. This time I'm going to change it to URL, and can you see the way there is a space after the ZA? So when I selected this address, I actually selected a space as well. This is a very common mistake. So watch what happens when I press OK. It comes up with a little red light. It says this web address is not available. So that means there's a problem. So I'm going to go back here, double click, and I'm going to remove that space after the ZA, press OK, and it checks it, and it now says this web address is good to go. So we're going to do the same here. It's the same web address. Select and make sure there's no space after the ZA, and OK. So you can see those are both the same web address, and so they get grouped together like that. Alright, so that's this page. Let's go to the next page. There's also the same address here, so let's select that web address, take the space out at the end. Okay, so that's 3 of those. Then on the contact page at the bottom we have the same web address, and make sure there's no space, and OK. And then here up at the top we want to set some links here. So there's an email address here. I'm going to select, create hyperlink, email, and the subject line of the email I'm going to set to general inquiry. And OK. Then here's that web address again. So let's take the space out, make it a URL, and OK. Okay, so it's telling me there's a problem with that. Let's go back and check. Okay, I didn't take that space out. Alright, that's good. So now here is another email address. So we select and email, and the subject line will be events. Another one. Subject line, donations. Another one. Subject line, tickets. Another one more. Subject line complaints. Alright, so those are our hyperlinks. So when we get to finally exporting this document, those will be live links, which will take me to web pages, email addresses, and other pages in the document. Okay, so let's save, and we're going to move on to the next interaction. We're going to build some bookmarks now. So bookmarks are basically just a way for you to navigate through the document when you're viewing a PDF or an EPUB. So we're going to go to Window, Interactive, Bookmarks. And you need to be on the page before you make a bookmark. So we're on the cover page, so I'm going to make a bookmark, call it Cover. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the next page, make a bookmark, call it Contents. Next one, this is going to be Intro. Next one is going to be Education. And next one is going to be Contact. So we can use these bookmarks for other things when we're building an interactivity, or just when you output a PDF, those bookmarks will be available to the viewer. So we're going to look at creating a little navigation system using something called buttons. So I'm going to make a bit of space here in this document. Let's just check my layers, and I'm going to go Object, Unlock, All on Spread. Okay, so I'm going to take this and this and this and just nudge them down a bit to make a bit of space. And then I'm going to work on a master page. So under Pages, we've got a master already. So I'm going to right click and go to Master Options for a master, and I'll just call this Navigation. And I'll double click on that. And then what we're going to do is create like a little menu that drops down so that we can go to any page from any page, which is what a navigation system should be about. So we're going to take a rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I'm not going to give you sizes, you can figure this out yourself. And I'm going to make it that light yellow color with a white or paper stroke. And I'm going to just zoom in a bit, and then I'm going to click on this little button which allows me to round the corners, and I'm going to hold down Shift and just round the bottom corners. Okay, and then I'm going to take my type tool and I'm going to drag a text box and type Menu. Actually, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to rather do is create a little sandwich icon to indicate that this is a menu. So we'll make something like that. Fill it with the darker brown, no stroke. And zoom in. Click on the little rounded corner item and drag like that. Right, and then hold down Alt or Option and drag 3 of those like that. So that's kind of usually your indicator that this is a menu of some sort. I'm just going to make this a bit taller, and I'm going to select all of that, go to Window, Object and Layout, Align, and I'll choose Align Center, so they're all centered nicely. Okay, and let me just move this down a bit, and then I'm going to make another rectangle that goes like that. We'll use our eyedropper to pick up that color, and we'll also round the corners. So okay, and then nudge it down a little bit so that it overlaps with that, and then select those two together and go to Object, Pathfinder, Add, so they become one shape. and then I'm just going to arrange to the back. Alright, so now we've got our little kind of menu item. We're going to put in some text. So I'm going to go to page 2, and I'm just going to take these 3 items, copy them, go to that master page, paste in here, and let's just arrange these. Okay, so select them, window, object and layout, align. I'll align them to the left and distribute them evenly. Okay. Alright, so there's our little menu kind of tab. I'm going to put in a close icon, so type tool, and then just a big X, and let's just make it Arial bold and bigger, and we'll set it to that chocolate color, and we'll go to type, create outlines, just so that it's a shape there. So that's our little close icon. So just to explain to you what's going to happen with this panel is that it will eventually be off the top of the screen and just the little sandwich icon will be visible. And what we're going to have is when you click on that, the item is going to slide down, show the links, and when you click on the close button it will slide back up again. So there's quite a few things we need to do. So we haven't covered how to create animations yet, so that we will do a little bit later. So at the moment this is just going to be in the middle of the screen here, and we're going to get the interactivity going, and then next step will be the animation. Alright, so I'm just going to select everything here and group it, so Command or Control G, and I'm going to go to Object and Layout, Align, and make sure that I'm aligning to the page and center it. Okay, then I'm going to ungroup it, Object, Ungroup. I'm going to select just the panel, hold down Shift, and the sandwich icons, all of them. And let's do the same thing. I should have left my align panel out. We're just going to align center so that they're nicely centered. Then I'm going to select these 3 little items together, so Shift, and group those. And now we can start actually building in the basic interactivity. So this, and another thing is we need to take this master page that we're working on, and we need to make sure it's applied to every page. Yours might already be, but it doesn't matter. Just make sure it's applied. Okay, so if we go to each page, you'll see that it's behind a lot of stuff. So that's no good. So what we need to do is to put this interactivity into its own layer. So back to our master page, Command or Control A to select everything, and under layers we're going to go to the top, make a new layer, and we'll call it navigation, and we'll drag that little color box up there to make sure that all the items in this navigation master page are in a layer on their own. So now if I go back here, you'll see that if this navigation is on top of everything, which is what I want. Okay, so now what we want is we want each one of these things to be a button that takes us to the appropriate page using bookmarks. So selecting the 3, we're going to go to Window, Interactive, Buttons and Forms. At the bottom here it says Convert to Button. So I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to type here 3, and I'm going to add the action, go to destination, and the destination will be intro. I want to create a rollover effect. That means when I move my button over it, I want it to change. So the rollover effect is going to be to make it paper color. Okay, so normally it'll look like that. When I roll my mouse over it, it'll look like that. Okay, let's do the next one. Convert to button. I'll call this 4. And I'll add go to destination, and this one will be education. And the rollover effect will be converting to paper color. Then back to normal. This one, convert to button. Let's call this 5. Go to destination. Contact is correct. Rollover. Change to paper. Normal. Okay, now you cannot preview a master page. You've got to actually preview an actual page. So while I'm here, I'm also going to just convert this to a button. So I'm say button, and I will say menu tab, and I will set the rollover to paper again, and the little close button, convert to button, I'll call this close, and I'll set the rollover to paper as well. Alright, so let's go to page 1, and then we'll click on this little button in the bottom left hand corner, preview spread EPUB. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to go to multi-page, this set preview document mode, and press the little play button so that we can test these buttons. Okay, so yes, the rollover effect is working. These two buttons do nothing at the moment, but this should take me to page 3. Yes, this should take me to page 4, and this should take me to page 5. Okay, so everything's working so far. So that's how we can turn things into buttons and do stuff with it. Buttons are pretty powerful. They can do a lot more than this, but we're just using them in a basic way to create a little navigation system. So the next thing actually is to work with animation with this tab. So we're going to go back to our master page, and we're going to set some animations here. So I'm going to take the whole thing, and I'm going to move it up to there, and I'm going to go to Window, Interactive, Animation, and we're going to take this first item, and we're going to choose the preset Fade In. So it's going to fade in, but 1 second is too long, so I'm going to set the duration to 1/4 of a second. I'm also going to say don't play the animation until I tell you to, so I'm going to uncheck on page load, and I'm going to do the same with these items. So for this one, fade in, 1/4 of a second, and don't play it until I tell you to. Same with this one, fade in, 1/4 of a second, uncheck on page load. This one, fade in, uncheck there, 1/4 of a second. Okay, so we're going to build this slowly. So what I want to do now is take this item which we turned into a button, this little hamburger menu, and I'm going to set the action animation, and it's going to be 3. So remember we called this button 3, and I'm going to say play. Then I'm going to add another one, animation 4, play. Next one, animation 5, play. And then I think this close button, we didn't call it close, so I'm going to correct that. So call it close, enter. I'm going to go back here, let's add another animation for close, and it'll be play. So let's just test this on page 1. So you can see that none of those things are visible, but when I click on this little hamburger icon, it plays. Alright, so that's what I want to happen. Then we have this, which I want, let me go back to the master page, this little hamburger icon, I want to add an animation there, so interactive animation, and this one is just going to fade in, and it's going to, only when I want it to, sorry, it's going to fade out, only when I want it to, so uncheck there, and let's set it over 1/4 of a second, and then I'll just put the animation thing here, and then we're going to add an animation for that button that says, okay, we need to call it something, so we're going to call this menu. Thought I did this already. Okay, and we're going to set the menu animation to play, but I want that to happen first, so I'm going to move this animation up to the top. So what should happen is when I click on the hamburger icon, it fades away and these 3 animations play. Then I want to go to the close button, and I want this one to play the animations in reverse. So I'm going to add an animation to the close one, which is, fade in is right, and okay, let's just see. So I'm going to say animation, and it will be close, and we're going to play it in reverse. And we're going to add an animation. This will be 5, and we will reverse it. Add an animation. This will be 4, and we will reverse it. Another one. This will be 3, and we will reverse it. Okay, let's try that on page 1. I just want to see how far we've got. Okay, so when I click on here, it fades away. The other ones fade in. When I click on close, they fade away. This one needs to fade back though, so we need to go back here, master page, go back here, and we need to add an animation, and this will be for menu, and it will be reverse. Okay, let's check that. So that's in, and then away and back again, in, and then away and back again. Okay, so we're getting there. So the next thing I want to do is for this panel, keep forgetting to go back to the master page. For this panel, we're going to add the animation, which will be fly in from top. Fly in from top. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. And in the animation panel, I want to click on this button here, which shows a shadow of where it will start. Okay, so I want it to start a little bit further up, so I'm going to click on this path, and I'm just going to drag that up a little bit. So we've got it up at the top with just the tab showing. I'll just zoom in here so you can see just the tab showing. And then what I want is I want to take this item, and I just want this one to be up at the top all the time, like that. Okay, so this actually needs to come over a little bit. Okay, I'm actually messing this up. Let me remove the animation from this. So I'm just going to go back to none to take the animation out, and I'm going to choose fly in from top again. Okay, there we go. Oh, and another thing is, down the bottom here, I need to remove the fade in. So there's no fading. And I need to remove the on-page load. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and hopefully just move that point up. So I'm just using my arrow key just to move it up a bit. Okay, there it's in position, and now the hamburger icon is out, so we need to move that over. Too far. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, so just to recap what we did is we just created an animation that makes this panel fly in from the top, but we've turned off on-page load so that it only happens when we want it to happen. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to this hamburger icon, and in our buttons and forms I'm going to add another animation, and this will be for the panel. That's this path. Okay, and we're going to say play, so that should play down, and that should actually happen first. So we're going to go up, and it'll play after the menu is faded out, so about there. So let's test this on page 1. It's probably not going to work perfectly first time, but let's see. Okay, so there's our little tab. When we click, fades down, it comes in, and when we click, okay, it doesn't go back up yet, so that we will fix. But I just want to move everything nicely into position, so I'm going to take these 3 items, just shuffle them over a tiny bit, and the close icon as well. Okay, so we need to now go to the close button, and we need to add an animation for that path that reverses it. Okay, and I think that should do it, so let's check. So preview, this is page 1, click, comes down, shows the items, click on close, goes back up again. Okay, that's looking good. One more thing I just want to change is I want the hamburger icon to only fade back in once the tab has slid up to the top again. Okay, let's do that. So that will be the close button, and we're going to take the path and move that above menu. Let's do this one more time. Okay. Perfect. Let's do all the pages and check how it works. Okay, just get rid of these. So, got that. Let's go to page 3. Okay, 4, 5. Okay, so it's overlapping a little bit with contact us. Here, that's the only place that I can see where there's a little bit of an overlap, so I'm just going to take this text, move it out a little bit like that. Okay, so let's save that. And while we're doing animations, let's actually go to page 1 and let's do a couple of animations here as well. So in layers, I'm just going to hide that navigation layer so we can see what we're doing. So just for the home, not the home page, the cover page, I'm going to put in some animation. I'm not a big fan of putting lots of animation everywhere, so we're just going to do it for this page. So I want the background image to fade in, so I'll select that. And I'll say fade in. I then want the botanic to fly in from the top. I want this to fly in from the right. This here, these two together to fly in from the right. This will fly in from the bottom. Okay, I'm just going to turn that off so I'm not seeing the shadows there. This will fly in from the bottom, these three will also fly in from the bottom, and then these two little lines will fly in from the bottom. Okay, so let's just preview that to begin with and see what it looks like. Okay, so that's nice, but I want it to play a little bit faster for things, and I want the timing to be a bit different. So I'm going to go to this little button that says Show Timing Panel, and here's all my animations in the order that they're going to play. So I want the two lines to play together, so select those two and say Play Together. I want the three pieces of text at the bottom to play together. I want the rectangle, in fact, I want all of this stuff except Botanic Gardens to play together. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Much nicer. Okay, so that's how animation works. Bear in mind that animation is not supported by PDFs, so this will only be for EPUB. You can go ahead and do some animation on the other pages, but I just think unless it's actually adding value to the page, the cover page is really the place where the animation is going to be impactful. Okay, so now moving on to the next interactivity. So we're going to go to page 3, I believe. Yes, and these images here, let's say that I wanted this to be a slideshow and make the images bigger. So what I'm going to do is select all the images. It's these 5. I'm going to go to Window, Object and Layout, Align, and I'm just going to align them vertical centers so that they're all on top of each other. Then I'm going to press E for my free transform tool, and I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt and just size that up nice and big like that. Just position it. So that's where my slideshow will be. So all 5 images are still selected. I'm going to go to Window, Interactive, Object States. And then I'm going to click on this button here, Convert Selection to Multi-State Object. And I'll just call this Slideshow. You can see that it creates one object where you can cycle through the images. Okay, so we're halfway there. Now what we need to do is we need some way of navigating from slide to slide. So I'm going to, in fact, I'm going to move this whole thing over a bit here so it's not interfering with the main photo too much. And then I'm going to take my type tool and I'm going to make sure that I'm on the navigation layer. And I'm just going to drag out text frame. And I'm going to put a less than character in there. I'm going to make it Arial bold and set it really big. Also going to make it white or paper. In Selection Tool, Type, Create Outlines. Okay, so there's my little previous slide button, and then I'm just going to Alt or Option drag and rotate 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Move that down here. So there I've got little next and previous buttons. Alright, so now let's go to Window, Interactive, Buttons and Forms. Select the previous button and convert it to a button. Call it Previous. And we're going to set the rollover state to, let's just make it black 20%. And we're going to set the action to go to previous state and make sure that Slideshow is the one that is the object selected. Then we're going to go to this one, convert to a button. We'll call it Next. Set the rollover to black 20%. Set the action to go to next state. Okay, so if I preview this now from the bottom left hand corner here, I should be able to click on these arrows and cycle through these slides. Okay. So the next interactivity is going to be placing a video. So you can place video or audio in an interactive document. So we're going to go to this page here, and just for the time being, in my layers, I'm going to hide my navigation layer, and I'm going to go to the graphics layer. Just move this over a little bit, and I'm going to take my rectangle frame tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle in this area here. Okay. Might not be the best place to put a video, but it's, in fact, I think I'm going to put it on this side so it doesn't interfere too much with the main image, and then we'll just size it. Now, I'm not going to give you exact dimensions, but in general, when you're placing video, try and make the rectangle or frame match the aspect ratio of the video, and in fact the video should be processed to the correct size as well, but we haven't done that here, but it'll still work. So with this frame selected, I'm going to go to Window, Interactive, Media, and in the bottom right hand corner is a button that says Place a Video or Audio File. Click on that, and I have supplied you with an MP4 called Google Maps. Press open and then click on this frame. So it should be an MP4 format. This is just a very basic short video of using Google Maps to go to the Durban Botanic Gardens. We're then going to right click and choose fitting, and we're going to say fit content to frame. Okay, and that is all we need to do. We do not want to play it on page load. We do not want to loop it. Everything else is good to go. So if I now preview this page, so Window, Interactive, EPUB Interactivity Preview, here's the video, and if I press play, it's going to play that short video. Okay. Right, so that's video, and then the last thing we're going to cover is going to the last page of the document, is we're going to put in a QR code which people can scan to go directly to the website. Now, QR codes are not only for interactive, they're actually used probably more in print, but that's fine. We're actually just going to go through the process so that you know how to do it. So we'll stay on the graphics layer, and we'll go. In fact, I need to copy this address first. So type tool, and let me just go in here and copy this address. Okay, and then deselect object, generate QR code. So there's lots of different bits of information you can put in a QR code. We're just going to put in a web hyperlink, paste it in there. Okay, and then we'll drag out our QR code. Okay, and it's as simple as that. I'll just place it down here. Alright, so this has been a very long video, but now that you've got to this stage, we need to know, how do we get this out? So I'm just going to save it. So at this stage, all you're going to do is create an EPUB so that you can test all of your interactivity. So we're going to go to File, Export, EPUB, Fixed Layout. I'll just put it on my desktop and press Save. And all the settings here are fine, just press OK. Now, if you're on a Mac, you will have iBooks, which is an EPUB reader, so it should automatically open into iBooks. If you're on Windows, you won't have a default EPUB reader, so it's most likely going to open it into your web browser. And web browsers are not the best EPUB readers, so I'm just going to press OK there. So you may not have a great experience. So what I would recommend you do if you're on Windows is just go onto the web and go and find yourself a free EPUB reader and install it so that you can open your EPUB file and read it the way it's designed to be read. Okay, so I can see straight away that I forgot to show my layer with the menu in. So let's go back and do that. So layers, navigation layer, and let's do that again. Save, export, EPUB fixed layout, replace the one I just made, and OK. Alright, so the animation plays on the cover page, the menu works. Okay, let's see if we can go to those pages. Page 3, yes. Page 4, video. Okay, let's go to the last page. There's the QR code, and let's just go back to front. Okay, so everything's working. I'm pretty happy with that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.